Hi, everyone. My name is Brian, and tonight I'm going to talk about how to create engagement in e-learning systems using what's known as the 3 Ps. But before I describe the 3 Ps to y'all, what I'd like to do first is define engagement and talk about how we measure it, at least in the e-learning world. So for tonight, our definition of engagement is going to be the amount of time, energy, and focus I'll put towards an activity in order to learn something. And if that definition sounds somewhat theoretical, well, it is. But fortunately, there's some metrics we can get to in e-learning beyond the theory that help us define and measure engagement. We can look at things like the frequency of logins, and is that growing? We can look at the duration of time people spend in our e-learning systems, and we can look at performance, so grading and retention. And we can get great subjective feedback from our end users in the form of surveys that all tell us good things about engagement. But now that we've got that data and that information, why is it important? Why would engagement matter? Well, for us in the e-learning world, it's the potential for growth. In fact, e-learning was a $36 billion industry in 2011. In 2013, it was a $56 billion industry, and that's going to double in 2015. So we've got some great numbers and some great expectations, but if we don't build things that people actually want to use, we've got some great risk as well. So it becomes really important that we motivate people in the right way to use our technology. Now, there's some great research on the science of motivation out there. I'm not going to rehash that for you tonight, but I am going to give you a nice takeaway in the form of the 3 Ps of e-learning engagement. And those 3 Ps are participation, progress, and purpose. I'm going to describe each one and try to give you an example outside of e-learning to connect to. So let's start with participation, which refers to having someone willingly engage in a behavior or activity. Willing is the key there because we need that autonomous engagement. Otherwise, we'll get high rates of adoption, but actual low rates of completion and retention. Now, some good ways to drive participation would be things like game mechanics or gamification. So think about badges, levels, or inserting like a game show type template or narrative into your technology. It can really be powerful. The other thing we think about when driving participation is design, particularly mobile design right now, because what we're finding is mobile learners will spend up to 40 minutes more a week in an e-learning system than their counterparts. So we know how powerful that is. Now, if you're looking for an example outside of e-learning, think of like the Nike Plus app. It's clearly got some game elements in it. It's quite obviously mobile as well. A couple things they do would be things like leaderboards and points, as those can be demotivating, maybe not appropriate in a learning environment. Let me move on to the second P right now, though, which is progress. Progress refers to that constant real-time feedback we want to give our end users, usually in some sort of graphic way. Some good examples of progress that tell people how far they've come and how far they have to go would be like, let's take, for example, TurboTax does a nice job of kind of pushing you along that progress path to complete your taxes. Mint does a nice job of this as well with their progress bars in their budget and goals section. So some good examples of how progress works. For those of you who've been paying attention, there's actually a progress bar in my presentation as well. So right now, you're 75% of the way through, about a minute left. Hang with me here. We're in the home stretch. And I'm going to talk about the final P right now, which is purpose. Now, purpose refers to attaching meaning or value to the actual act of learning. We tend to put this into 2 categories, extrinsic and intrinsic. I'm going to start with the extrinsic stuff first. It's probably what you're already kind of thinking of, the pretty obvious ones, things like credits, continuing education hours, certifications. From a technology perspective, though, you always want to make sure that the end user can access these accomplishments and that these accomplishments are exportable to other learning management systems as well. That keeps people engaged. Now, from an intrinsic standpoint, the driver's usually mastery, meaning I really like that process of getting good at something and gaining knowledge. In e-learning, the way we drive that is through incremental missions or simulations and challenges that appeals to that type of learner. A really good example of someone who combined all those things is what Adobe did with their program called Level Up for Photoshop. What they did is they put trial users of Photoshop through a series of missions and challenges and simulations that got them good at Photoshop in an incremental way, so intrinsic. And then if they completed those in a timely fashion, they were actually offered a discount on Photoshop, which was an extrinsic motivator. So we got them with the wallet with that one. It's a really good example. I'm looking at my progress bar, and I'm almost done. So let me leave you with the key takeaway for tonight, which are the 3 Ps of e-learning engagement: participation, progress, and purpose. Thank you very much.